The Hinterkaifeck farm was a place that seemed to carry its own shadow. Nestled deep in the Bavarian countryside, far from prying eyes, it stood as a solitary figure against the vast expanse of snow-covered fields. In March of 1922, the farm's isolation became its curse. 6 lives were snuffed out in a single night, their blood soaking into the earth beneath the barn floor. The Gruber family and their newly hired maid met their end in a series of brutal murders that would haunt Germany for over a century. Yet, what made Hinterkaifeck truly terrifying wasn't just the violence. It was the silence that followed. The killer didn't flee after committing the atrocity. Instead, they stayed, living among the corpses for days, feeding the animals and stoking the fire as if nothing had happened. In the days leading up to the massacre, strange occurrences plagued the farmstead. Andreas Gruber, the family patriarch, had noticed footprints in the snow leading from the woods to his home, but none returning. At night, faint noises echoed from the attic above, too deliberate to be dismissed as creaking wood or scurrying rats. The previous maid had left abruptly, claiming she couldn't bear to stay another night in what she called a haunted house. But Andreas dismissed her fears as foolishness. He was a hard man, unyielding and proud, and he refused to let superstition dictate his life. Little did he know that these signs weren't warnings of restless spirits. They were preludes to something much worse. On the night of March 31st, 1922, the farm fell eerily silent. The family had retired for the evening, unaware that their lives were about to end in unimaginable horror. The killer struck with precision, using a mattock, a tool meant for breaking soil, to shatter skulls instead. One by one, the family members were lured into the barn under unknown circumstances. Perhaps they heard a noise, or maybe the killer called out to them. Whatever the reason, they entered and never came back out alive. By morning, 4 bodies lay stacked in the barn, concealed under a thin layer of hay. Inside the house, 2 more victims awaited discovery. Josef, just 2 years old, was found lifeless in his crib. Maria Baumgartner, the maid who had started working there only hours before her death, was killed in her room. What made the crime even more chilling was the behavior of the murderer afterward. For 3 days following the killings, neighbors reported seeing smoke rising from the farmhouse chimney. The animals were fed and cared for, and meals appeared to have been prepared in the kitchen. It was as if the killer had taken up residence among the dead, living out some twisted fantasy of domestic life. When neighbors finally grew concerned about the family's absence and ventured onto the property on April 4th, they uncovered a scene that would scar them forever. The barn smelled of death. Flies swarmed around blood-soaked hay. Inside the house, silence hung heavy in the air, broken only by the cries of neglected livestock. The discovery of the bodies sent shockwaves through the tight-knit Bavarian community. Lorenz Schlittenbauer, a neighbor and one of the first to enter the barn, was visibly shaken but acted in ways that others found unsettling. He moved the bodies, tampered with evidence, and even entered the house alone before authorities arrived. Whispers began to circulate. Some claimed he had a personal connection to Victoria Gabriel, Andreas Gruber's widowed daughter. Others speculated that he might have been Josef's father, though this was never confirmed. His strange behavior, combined with his rumored disputes with Andreas, placed him under a cloud of suspicion for years. Yet, no concrete evidence ever tied him to the murders. As investigators combed through the scene, they were met with a disturbing lack of clarity. The weapon, a mattock, was found at the property, but no fingerprints or clues pointed to its wielder. Money and valuables remained untouched, ruling out robbery as a motive. The brutality of the killings suggested rage or deep personal animosity, yet no one could pinpoint who might harbor such hatred for the Gruber family. Adding to the mystery were the eerie events leading up to the murders, the unexplained footprints in the snow, the sounds in the attic, and a strange newspaper found on the property that none of the family members recognized. It was as though someone had been watching them, waiting for just the right moment to strike. Despite the efforts of local authorities, the investigation quickly descended into chaos. The crime scene was compromised almost immediately as curious neighbors and townsfolk flooded the farm, disturbing evidence and contaminating potential leads. The police, inexperienced in handling such a gruesome case, struggled to make sense of the carnage. They interviewed dozens of suspects, from former farmhands to distant relatives, but each lead seemed to evaporate as quickly as it appeared. Even the craniums of the victims, sent to Munich for forensic analysis, mysteriously vanished during World War II, further burying any hope of solving the case. Hinterkaifeck became less of a crime scene and more of a legend, a puzzle with too many missing pieces. As the years passed, theories about the murders multiplied. Some believed Lorenz Schlittenbauer had acted out of jealousy or revenge, unable to cope with his rumored ties to Victoria and Joseph. Others pointed fingers at transient workers or vagrants who might have stumbled upon the isolated farm and seized an opportunity for violence. A few even suggested supernatural forces were at play, citing the strange noises in the attic and the footprints in the snow as evidence of something otherworldly. But perhaps the most chilling theory was that someone close to the family, a trusted friend or relative, had committed the murders. This idea struck fear into the hearts of locals, forcing them to question whether they truly knew those around them. One detail that investigators couldn't ignore was the peculiar behavior of Andreas Gruber in the days leading up to the murders. Known for his harsh demeanor and strained relationships with those around him, Andreas had confided in a neighbor about the unsettling footprints leading to the house. Yet, he refused to report it to the authorities, dismissing it as paranoia. Even more disturbing was the family's discovery of a key that had gone missing weeks earlier. They found it lying on the kitchen table one morning, as if someone had been inside the house and wanted them to know. These incidents painted a picture of a family living under siege, though whether by an external force or their own inner demons remained unclear. The youngest victim, 7-year-old Casilia Gabriel, became a focal point of the tragedy due to the horrors she endured in her final moments. Unlike the others, she appeared to have survived the initial attack in the barn. Investigators found evidence suggesting she had pulled out clumps of her own hair while lying injured among her family's bodies, a haunting testament to her suffering. This detail, more than any other, cemented Hinterkaifeck as a crime of unparalleled cruelty. It wasn't just the act of murder that shocked people, it was the sheer brutality and psychological torment inflicted on the victims. Even hardened detectives struggled to reconcile what they saw with any semblance of humanity. The psychological toll of the murders extended far beyond the Gruber family. For the residents of the surrounding villages, Hinterkaifeck became a symbol of fear and mistrust. Neighbors began locking their doors at night, something previously unheard of in the close-knit Bavarian countryside. Rumors spread like wildfire, with every whispered theory adding to the growing paranoia. Some claimed to have seen shadowy figures lurking near their homes, while others swore they heard footsteps outside their windows after dark. The idea that the killer might still be among them, watching, waiting, was enough to fracture even the strongest of communities. In the decades that followed, Hinterkaifeck transformed from a crime scene into an enduring mystery. The farm itself was eventually demolished as no one dared to live on the cursed land. Yet, its story persisted, passed down through generations as a cautionary tale. Historians and amateur sleuths alike have pored over every detail of the case, hoping to uncover some overlooked clue that might finally solve it. But with each passing year, the trail grows colder, and the line between fact and speculation blurs further. What remains is a haunting legacy, a reminder of how easily the familiar can turn sinister and how some questions are destined to remain unanswered. Among the many theories surrounding Hinterkaifeck, one stands out for its sheer audacity. The idea that the killer had lived among the family for weeks, hiding in plain sight. The strange sounds from the attic and the missing key seemed to support this chilling possibility. Some speculated that the murderer had been watching the Grubers, studying their routines, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. If true, this would mean that the family had unknowingly shared their home with their executioner, a thought so terrifying it left investigators grasping for answers. Yet no evidence was ever found to confirm this theory, leaving it as yet another unsettling possibility in a case riddled with uncertainty. Even today, Hinterkaifeck continues to captivate those drawn to unsolved mysteries. True crime enthusiasts and paranormal investigators alike have tried to piece together what happened on that fateful night in 1922. Some believe the answer lies in forensic advancements that could shed new light on old evidence, while others are convinced that the truth died with the victims. What makes Hinterkaifeck so enduring isn't just the brutality of the murders, it's the layers of unanswered questions and eerie coincidences that surround them. The farm may be gone, but its story lingers like a ghost, haunting those who dare to delve into its dark past. The Hinterkaifeck murders also left behind a chilling psychological imprint on those who dared to investigate the case. Officers who worked the scene reported vivid nightmares and an overwhelming sense of dread that stayed with them for years. One investigator in particular claimed he could never forget the sight of young Cazilia's torn scalp or the eerie quiet of the house where Joseph and Maria were found. These haunting images became etched into their minds, serving as a grim reminder of the case's brutality. For some, it wasn't just a crime. It was a descent into something far darker, something that defied explanation. What sets Hinterkaifeck apart from other unsolved crimes is its almost cinematic quality. The isolated farm, the strange premonitions, and the killer's bizarre behavior all read like elements of a horror story rather than real life. Yet, this was no fiction. The Gruber family's deaths were brutally real, their lives extinguished in a way that left no closure for those left behind. It's this blend of mystery and horror that keeps people coming back to the story, hoping to uncover some hidden truth. But perhaps the most terrifying aspect of Hinterkaifeck is the possibility that the killer was never caught. Not because they disappeared, but because they were never far away to begin with. One of the most unsettling aspects of the case is the sheer intimacy of the murders. The killer didn't rely on distance or anonymity. They used a mattock, a tool that required them to be close enough to feel the resistance of bone and flesh. This wasn't a crime of convenience. It was deliberate, calculated, and deeply personal. The precision of the blows suggested someone who knew the victims well or harbored an intense hatred toward them. Yet, no one in the community could point to an individual with both the motive and the opportunity to commit such an atrocity. The lack of answers left a void that speculation eagerly filled, but nothing ever felt truly satisfying. Even more chilling is the idea that the killer might have been someone the family trusted. How else could they have lured each member into the barn without raising alarm? Perhaps it was a neighbor or a former worker, someone who knew their routines and vulnerabilities. The thought that such betrayal could come from within their own circle was almost too much for locals to bear. It forced them to question not just their safety, but their very understanding of human nature. If someone could commit such evil and walk among them undetected, what did that say about their ability to truly know anyone? The psychological weight of the Hinterkaifeck murders extended far beyond the immediate community. Over time, the case became a symbol of the unknown, a reminder of how fragile the line is between safety and chaos. Forensic experts, criminologists, and even mediums were brought in over the years to try and unravel the mystery. But each attempt only deepened the enigma. Some claimed to feel a malevolent presence on the land where the farm once stood, while others insisted that the answers were buried in the fractured relationships within the Gruber family itself. The case became less about solving a crime and more about confronting the unsettling reality that some questions might never have answers. As time marched on, Hinterkaifeck transitioned from a local tragedy to a cultural phenomenon. It inspired books, documentaries, and even films, each offering its own interpretation of what might have happened that night. Yet, for all its notoriety, the case remains deeply personal for those connected to it. Descendants of the Gruber family still live with the shadow of what happened, their family name forever tied to one of Germany's darkest mysteries. The farm may be gone, but its story refuses to fade, lingering like an open wound in the collective memory of those who hear it. Theories about the killer's identity continue to evolve, fueled by advances in forensic science and renewed interest in cold cases. Some researchers have suggested that the murders were part of a larger pattern of violence, possibly committed by a serial killer who moved across rural Germany. Others argue that the crime was uniquely personal, rooted in the tangled relationships and dark secrets of the Gruber family. Victoria Gabriel, for instance, was rumored to have been involved in an incestuous relationship with her father, Andreas, a claim that added a layer of disturbing complexity to the case. If true, it could explain why someone might harbor such intense hatred toward the family. But as with everything else in Hinterkaifeck, these theories remain speculative at best. One chilling possibility that has gained traction over the years is that the killer may have been someone who lived close enough to watch the farm for days or weeks before striking. The footprints leading from the woods and the strange noises in the attic suggest a predator who was patient and calculating. This idea has led some to believe that the murderer wasn't a stranger at all, but someone who blended seamlessly into the community after committing the crime. If true, it would mean that Hinterkaifeck's darkest secret wasn't just what happened on March 31st, 1922. It was that the killer might have shared meals, conversations, and even friendships with those searching for answers. The idea of the killer remaining hidden in plain sight has haunted the Hinterkaifeck case for decades. It paints a picture of a person capable of extraordinary deception, someone who could commit an atrocity and then seamlessly reintegrate into society without raising suspicion. This theory is particularly unsettling because it suggests that the murderer wasn't just skilled in violence, but also in manipulation. If they were indeed part of the community, they would have known how to deflect attention and exploit the trust of those around them. The thought that such a person could exist, and perhaps still walk among us, adds an extra layer of horror to an already chilling story. In many ways, Hinterkaifeck stands as a testament to the limits of human understanding. Despite the best efforts of investigators, historians, and amateur sleuths, the case remains as enigmatic today as it was over a century ago. It's not just the brutality of the murders that captivates people, it's the unanswered questions that surround them. Who could commit such an act? Why would they stay on the farm afterward? And how have they managed to evade justice for so long? These are questions that may never be answered, but their absence creates a vacuum that draws people in, compelling them to confront the darker aspects of human nature. The Hinterkaifeck farm itself has become a character in the story, its eerie presence lingering long after its physical structure was demolished. Those who visit the site today describe an oppressive atmosphere, as though the land itself carries the weight of what happened there. Some claim to hear faint whispers carried on the wind or feel an inexplicable chill when standing where the barn once stood. While skeptics dismiss these accounts as imagination fueled by the legend, others believe that the farm holds onto its secrets, refusing to let them fade into history. It's as if Hinterkaifeck is alive in its own way, a silent witness to a crime that defies understanding. For locals, the story of Hinterkaifeck is more than just a mystery. It's a cautionary tale about the fragility of trust and the dangers of isolation. The Gruber family lived far from their neighbors, surrounded by fields and forests that seemed to stretch endlessly. This distance provided them with privacy, but also made them vulnerable. In the aftermath of the murders, many families in the region began to reconsider their own safety, questioning whether their isolation could one day make them targets as well. Hinterkaifeck wasn't just a tragedy, it was a wake-up call for an entire community, forcing them to confront the unsettling reality that evil can strike even in the most peaceful places. One of the most haunting aspects of the Hinterkaifeck murders is the sense of unfinished business that surrounds them. Unlike other crimes that fade into obscurity, this case refuses to be forgotten. It's not just the brutality or the mystery, it's the lingering feeling that justice was never served. The killer, whoever they were, walked away from the farm and disappeared into the folds of history, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and shattered lives. For those who study the case, this lack of resolution is both maddening and magnetic. It's as if Hinterkaifeck is calling out, demanding that someone uncover its secrets. Perhaps what makes Hinterkaifeck so terrifying is its ordinariness. The Gruber family wasn't wealthy or famous. They were simple farmers living a quiet life in rural Bavaria. Their story could have been anyone's, a reminder that evil doesn't discriminate and can strike without warning. This universality is what keeps people coming back to the case, even after more than a century has passed. Hinterkaifeck isn't just a story about murder, it's a story about vulnerability, about how quickly the familiar can turn into something horrifying. And it's this relatability that ensures its place in history as one of Germany's most enduring mysteries. The Hinterkaifeck murders also highlight the limitations of early 20th century forensic science. In today's world, DNA analysis, advanced crime scene reconstruction, and psychological profiling might have provided answers that eluded investigators in 1922. But at the time, police were ill-equipped to handle a crime of such magnitude. The contamination of the crime scene, the disappearance of crucial evidence like the victims' skulls, and the lack of resources all contributed to the case's enduring mystery. It's a stark reminder of how far criminal investigations have come, and how many questions remain unanswered from an era when science was still catching up to human cruelty. For those who delve into the Hinterkaifeck case, there's an almost obsessive need to uncover the truth. Amateur detectives pore over old police reports and photographs, hoping to spot something others missed. Historians analyze the social dynamics of the time, searching for clues in the relationships and rivalries that surrounded the Gruber family. Even paranormal enthusiasts have tried to connect the dots, suggesting that supernatural forces may have played a role in the murders. Yet, for all their efforts, no one has been able to definitively solve the puzzle. Hinterkaifeck remains a labyrinth of theories and speculation, a chilling testament to humanity's fascination with the unknown. The case of Hinterkaifeck has also left a lasting impact on the study of criminal psychology. Experts often point to the killer's behavior after the murders as a key insight into their mindset. The fact that they stayed on the farm for days, feeding the animals and using the family's resources, suggests a level of detachment and control that is deeply unsettling. It wasn't enough to kill. The perpetrator seemed to revel in the aftermath, inhabiting the space as if it were their own. This chilling detail has led some to theorize that the killer might have been a psychopath, someone capable of extreme violence without remorse or fear of consequence. For the families who lived near Hinterkaifeck, the murders became more than just a story. They became an enduring source of fear and speculation. Children grew up hearing whispered tales about the cursed farm, and adults avoided discussing it openly, as though speaking its name might invite misfortune. Even today, locals are hesitant to visit the site, despite its historical significance. The land where Hinterkaifeck once stood feels heavy with its past, a place where time seems frozen in 1922. It's not just the memory of what happened there. It's the unanswered questions that linger like shadows, reminding everyone that some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved. For those who study Hinterkaifeck, the case represents more than just a historical curiosity. It's a window into the darkest corners of human nature. The brutality of the murders, combined with the eerie events leading up to them, creates a narrative that feels almost too terrifying to be real. And yet, it is real. The Gruber family's lives were violently taken, and their deaths remain a chilling reminder of how little we sometimes know about the people around us. Whether it was an act of revenge, madness, or something even more sinister, the crime speaks to a primal fear. The idea that danger can come from anywhere, even from within. The legacy of Hinterkaifeck is one of unease and unanswered questions. It's a story that refuses to fade, its details etched into the collective memory like scars. For every theory that emerges, there are countless more questions left unanswered. Who was the killer? What drove them to commit such an atrocity? And why did they stay on the farm afterward? These are questions that haunt not just those who investigate the case, but anyone who hears its story. Hinterkaifeck isn't just a mystery, it's a mirror, reflecting our deepest fears about trust, isolation, and the capacity for evil. The Hinterkaifeck murders also serve as a reminder of how fragile life can be in the face of the unknown. The Gruber family likely had no idea that their final days were being watched, their movements studied by someone with sinister intent. It's this sense of vulnerability that makes the case so haunting. The family's isolation, once a source of peace and privacy, became their greatest weakness. For those who hear the story today, it's impossible not to imagine themselves in the Gruber's place, living in a quiet home, unaware that danger is lurking just outside the door. As the years pass, Hinterkaifeck continues to captivate and terrify in equal measure. It's a story that has transcended its time, becoming a symbol of unsolved mysteries and the darker side of humanity. For some, it's a cautionary tale about the dangers of isolation. For others, it's a puzzle that demands solving. But for everyone who encounters it, Hinterkaifeck leaves an indelible mark, a chilling reminder that some shadows are never fully illuminated and some stories are destined to remain unfinished. One of the most enduring aspects of the Hinterkaifeck case is its ability to provoke fear across generations. The details are so vivid, so horrifying, that they feel almost timeless. The image of footprints leading from the woods, the sound of footsteps in the attic, and the sight of blood-soaked hay in the barn all combine to create a narrative that feels like it could happen anywhere, to anyone. It's this universality that keeps people returning to the story, drawn by an almost morbid curiosity. Hinterkaifeck isn't just a historical event, it's a reminder that evil often hides in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to strike. For those who live near the site today, Hinterkaifeck remains a source of unease. The farm may be gone, but its memory lingers in the landscape, as though the land itself refuses to forget. Locals speak of an oppressive atmosphere that hangs over the area, a feeling that something isn't quite right. Some avoid it entirely, while others visit out of fascination or respect for the victims. But no matter how much time passes, Hinterkaifeck continues to cast its shadow, a chilling testament to a crime that defies explanation and a mystery that refuses to be solved. The Hinterkaifeck murders have also become a symbol of humanity's obsession with the unknown. Over the years, countless theories have been proposed, each attempting to untangle the web of mystery surrounding the case. Some focus on the psychological profile of the killer, while others delve into the family's history, searching for secrets that might explain their tragic fate. Yet no matter how much evidence is analyzed or how many theories are debated, the truth remains elusive. This inability to find closure has turned Hinterkaifeck into more than just a crime. It's a reflection of our deepest fears about the limits of knowledge and justice. For those who study the case, Hinterkaifeck represents a paradox. It's both deeply personal and universally terrifying. The Gruber family's story is unique in its details but familiar in its themes: trust betrayed, safety shattered, and questions left unanswered. It's this combination that makes the case so compelling. Hinterkaifeck isn't just a mystery, it's a reminder of how fragile life can be and how easily the ordinary can turn into something horrifying. And as long as people continue to search for answers, its legacy will endure, casting a long shadow over those who dare to confront its darkness. Even as time distances us from the events of 1922, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain a stark reminder of how little we sometimes understand about human nature. The brutality of the crime, paired with the eerie circumstances surrounding it, has turned the case into a chilling legend. For those who hear the story, it's not just the violence that unsettles them. It's the silence that followed. The killer's ability to vanish without a trace, leaving behind only questions and fear, is what truly cements Hinterkaifeck as one of history's most haunting mysteries. Perhaps what makes Hinterkaifeck so enduring is its ability to force us to confront uncomfortable truths. It's a story about vulnerability, about how even the most ordinary lives can be upended by extraordinary evil. It's also a story about our need for answers and the frustration of never finding them. For every theory proposed, there are countless more questions left unanswered. And maybe that's why Hinterkaifeck continues to resonate. It reminds us that some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, and that some shadows are destined to linger forever. The Hinterkaifeck murders are more than just a crime. They're a puzzle that refuses to be solved, a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the unpredictability of human behavior. For those who study the case, it's not just the brutality that captivates them, it's the layers of unanswered questions. How could someone commit such an atrocity and then disappear without a trace? Why did they stay on the farm afterward, living among the dead as if nothing had happened? These questions don't just haunt investigators, they haunt anyone who hears the story, forcing them to confront the darker aspects of humanity. As we look back on Hinterkaifeck, it's impossible not to feel a sense of unease. The story isn't just about murder. It's about isolation, betrayal, and the unknown. It's about how quickly life can change, how easily safety can turn into danger, and perhaps that's why the case continues to resonate. Hinterkaifeck isn't just a mystery, it's a mirror, reflecting our deepest fears about trust, vulnerability, and the capacity for evil. And as long as people continue to search for answers, its shadow will remain, reminding us that some stories are destined to stay unfinished. For those who visit the site of Hinterkaifeck today, the land feels heavy with its history. The farm may be gone, but its memory lingers in the air, as though the tragedy refuses to be forgotten. Some visitors report an inexplicable sense of dread, a feeling that they're being watched, even though the fields are empty. Others claim to hear faint echoes of footsteps or whispers carried on the wind. Whether these experiences are real or imagined, they speak to the power of the story. A tale so haunting that it seems to have imprinted itself on the land itself. In the end, Hinterkaifeck is more than just an unsolved mystery. It's a story that forces us to confront our own fears and limitations. It's a reminder that evil doesn't always come with warning signs, and that some questions are destined to remain unanswered. For those who hear its tale, Hinterkaifeck isn't just a piece of history. It's a chilling reflection of humanity's darkest possibilities, and as long as people continue to search for answers, its shadow will endure, casting doubt and fear over anyone who dares to look too closely. The Hinterkaifeck murders remain one of the most chilling and enigmatic crimes in history, not because of the brutality alone, but because of the silence that followed. The unanswered questions, the eerie details, and the lack of closure have turned the case into a haunting legend. It's a story that forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about trust, isolation, and the capacity for evil. For those who delve into its details, Hinterkaifeck isn't just a mystery, It's a reminder of how fragile life can be and how quickly the ordinary can turn into something horrifying. As we reflect on Hinterkaifeck, it's clear that its legacy is more than just historical, it's psychological. The story doesn't just linger in history books, it lingers in the minds of those who hear it, leaving them with a sense of unease that's hard to shake. It's a tale that transcends time, reminding us that some shadows are never fully illuminated and some stories are destined to remain unfinished. Hinterkaifeck isn't just about what happened in 1922, it's about what continues to haunt us today. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of Hinterkaifeck is its ability to make us question the very nature of safety. The Gruber family lived in isolation, surrounded by vast fields and forests, believing that their distance from others provided them with protection. Instead, that same isolation became their undoing. The story forces us to confront a chilling reality. No matter how far we try to distance ourselves from danger, it can still find its way to our doorstep. It's this universality, the idea that anyone could fall victim to such horror, that makes Hinterkaifeck resonate so deeply, even after more than a century. In the end, Hinterkaifeck is not just a story of murder. It's a story of fear, mystery, and the unknown. It's a reminder that some questions will never be answered and some truths will always remain hidden. For those who hear its tale, the farm becomes more than just a place. It becomes a symbol of humanity's darkest possibilities. And as long as people continue to wonder about what happened on that cold March night in 1922, Hinterkaifeck will remain etched in history, its shadow stretching far beyond the fields of Bavaria. The story of Hinterkaifeck is one that refuses to fade, its unanswered questions lingering like ghosts in the minds of those who hear it. The farm may have been reduced to rubble, but its legacy remains, a chilling reminder of how fragile the line is between safety and chaos. It's a tale that compels us to look over our shoulders, to question what we think we know about the people around us. Hinterkaifeck isn't just a mystery, it's a reflection of our deepest fears, a story that forces us to confront the unsettling truth that some evils may never be understood. As the fields of Bavaria grow quiet with time, the shadow of Hinterkaifeck stretches on, undiminished by the passing years. It's a story that lives in whispers, in theories, and in the imaginations of those who dare to explore its depths. And perhaps that's where its true power lies, not in the details of what happened, but in the questions it leaves behind. Hinterkaifeck is more than just an unsolved crime. It's a haunting reminder that some shadows are meant to linger, and some stories are destined to remain unfinished.